Welcome to everyone. We are going to call to order this meeting for December 12th, 2022 for Caledonia Community Schools Board of Education. If you could all rise for the pledge, please. Couple quick housekeeping things before we go any further. If you are, welcome to all of you. It's nice to see so many faces out there. If you are here for public comment, we do ask that you fill out one of these cards. You do have 3 minutes. In that 3 minutes, you may address the board. I ask that you do not address any personnel issues. I ask you to address the board as a whole and do not call out any individual board members at that time. And let's please not address any specific students at that time as well. We will now move forward to consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll do roll call first. Thank you.
Asper here. Clement.
Here.
Barber Garcia.
Here.
Isich.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Sadu.
Here.
White.
Here. Thank you. Number 4, consent agenda. We have the November 21st, 2022 minutes, December 2022 personnel report, and November 2022 payables.
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
May I have a second? Second. Thank you. Do we have any questions, corrections, anything on there? No? Can we please have roll call?
Asper, yes. Clement.
Yes.
Barber Garcia.
Yes.
Isich.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Sadu.
Yes.
White.
Yes. Motion carries. On to 5, reports and information. We're going to start with 5A, high school English language arts presentation. Dr. Martin or Dr. Diaz?
Yes, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Diaz, and I believe she have a few people who might help or assist her. They're going to be presenting regarding the high school ELA arts curriculum information.
Good evening, everyone. President White, Superintendent Martin, Board Trustees, as well as those in the audience and those watching from home, thank you for being here this evening. Before I start, I'm going to take just a quick minute to recognize the members of the high school English Language Arts Department who have completed all of the documents and information that I'm going to be sharing with you this evening. And they are here just to show their support and to kind of put a face to the work. So those of you who are here in the audience, will you please stand? Thank you. I am pleased to share with you tonight, this evening, on the high school English Language Art Materials Pilot and resulting course development. It is not doing it. That works. Just to give you a little background on the course development, the way that we start all of our curriculum development or pilot opportunities over time, we have a large district system that pilots various courses over a 5 to 7 year period where we take a look at the resources that are being utilized. We look at whether or not there are some materials that we need to add to update, or whether we need to pilot a completely new set of materials for each of those courses. And all of our courses, core as well as other elective courses, are piloted in this way. So in the spring of 2022, our English Language Arts Department at the high school embarked on the journey to review, pilot, and ultimately, they were hoping to adopt a new resource for 9th through 12th graders in the English department. And the resources they initially piloted included Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, or HMH, you probably have heard, their product called Into Literature, and then McGraw-Hill's Study Sync were the two materials that were initially piloted. They began reviewing and utilizing those materials and resources in the spring of 2022 at the end of the second semester, and then piloting continued in the fall of 2022, but at that point they made a decision to move from a full 9-12 review and adoption to a potential 9-10 adoption. After an intensive review of the materials, including reviewing the student mastery within the textbook materials, alignment to standards, the consistency of the materials, sustainability in terms of what types of materials were included and what were consumables and would need to be repurchased each year, as well as supports for multi-language learners or special education students. And that was kind of an overarching review of the materials. And they spent a lot of time doing that review. They utilized the materials with the students, and it became very clear that there was a need for greater clarity, alignment, and consistency for covering standards. And so at that time, the request was made by the ELA department to move from an adoption focus to an adapt, looking at how do we build out our curriculum in a better, stronger way, and ultimately then adapt our current resources instead of adopting a whole new textbook series that they were not feeling met our needs here in Caledonia. So this decision was made, and they stepped back, took a deep dive into the ELA standards, built out scope and sequence documents, as well as curriculum maps to establish a solid foundation for student needs. And if you could open the curriculum map link, just to share with you a little window into what these look like. So for the courses, they go through and they build out the entire semester course, and they look at the number of weeks that it should take to present the material, the types of resources, the connection to the standards, and they build that out for the entire year for each of the courses. So they began by building those curriculum maps. Back to the PowerPoint, please. Thank you. Their goals were to develop a stronger ELA program for all of our students by building intentional vertical and horizontal alignment within the department. Previously, they were organized in such a way that many of the teachers were in distances that were not conducive to collaboration. So maybe some were in South Campus, some in North Campus, some on the second floor. And so they didn't have an opportunity for that incidental collaboration that occurs when you just run into each other in the hallway or between classes. And Principal Martin made the decision to move all of the teachers in the high school and to arrange their classrooms around content area. So it really began to allow not only the ELA department, but all the departments at the high school to have some of that incidental conversation and collaboration. So as they worked to build that vertical and horizontal alignment, they also looked at creating a direct tie to the pathways that were developed, and then ultimately committed to each other and to us as a district to build out common assessments for all of the 9-12 courses by this spring, and they are well on their way to making that happen. Another piece that they looked at was their 11th and 12th grade offerings. Traditional 11-12 English, AP 11-12 English, but there's been some move in some of the surrounding districts, and they really felt as a department, looking at student engagement, that they needed to rethink the course offerings for the 11th and 12th grade students. So they started building out courses that focus on writing and literature. So kind of playing more to students' strengths or interests. And so they have 4 new courses in the writing band: research writing, creative writing, practical communications, and journalism. And then they also have 4 new literature-focused courses that include creative nonfiction literature, world literature, contemporary literature, and my favorite, performative literature. And so students now in 11th grade will each choose one of those courses in each category, both years. We will still continue to offer the AP English 11 and 12 so that students who are looking to have those courses as they're looking to college, perhaps admissions requirements, they will still have that opportunity. But we wanted to really, wanted to really build out some different types of courses to improve engagement at that 11th and 12th grade level in the ELA courses. So as they looked at the resources, both the pilot materials originally, and then as they were looking at the resources that they have requested are added to the current ones that are utilized at the high school, they wanted to make sure that they did a thorough evaluation and vetting of those materials. And so they have many resources that they've been utilizing up to this point, but they really wanted to expand that with current material and current literature. And so they began by kind of doing a foundational review with the Common Sense Media ratings to make sure that the materials were age appropriate. And then they did a secondary dive developing out the scope and sequence documents for the courses. And if you could click on that link, again, just to kind of share with you for one of the courses what that means. So these scope and sequence docs take a look at the anchor or priority standards. We call them essential standards also. And where do those fit in each of the units to make sure that we're hitting all of those essential standards as we build out the courses. And so that was kind of their next step to make sure that those resources met the need for the standards being taught. And then the final layer of evaluation is actually an in-house tool, and it is the high school evaluation rubric. And it looks at 5 different components, and it really digs in to teacher usability, student usability. Again, that alignment, is the organization coherent? And so they then did that final layer of evaluation as they were building out their materials or resource list that they requested. Thank you. Back to the slides. So ultimately, this decision and resulting investment by the high school English Language Arts Department directly addresses our teaching and learning goals in the district strategic plan. And if we look at Goal C, it speaks specifically to curriculum and program alignment and states that we would develop our curriculum maps for all content areas in all grades. And so the ELA department has already begun that work, has finished it for 9th and 10th grade English courses, as well as the AP 11 and 12 courses, and they will be continuing to build out those resources for the 8 new courses for 11th and 12th graders. So I really hope to use the work that our ELA department has done as a standard as we support other departments in continuing their work to really own the curriculum that they're teaching our students. Finally, I wanted to make sure that we were clear that we recognize that the board does have a policy 2240 that addresses any controversial issues or concerns that parents may have, and that the English Language Arts Department is prepared, as well as our other departments, to provide an alternative assignment for students to utilize to demonstrate mastery if a parent should have a concern with one of the resources selected. And finally, just thank you, and again, a special thanks to our high school English Language Department for their tireless efforts. As you can see just with those little glimpses of those documents, there's a lot of time and effort that has gone into building out this curriculum. And as I was talking with them the other day, just the ownership that they've taken for their students and their students learning over time, it's been really exciting to see. So thank you.
I can say that I was lucky enough to attend the 7:30 a.m. curriculum meeting in someone else's place where this was brought up, and I don't know that I've ever left a 7:30 a.m. meeting so excited as I was on this day. So whether it was Dr. Trober and Dr. Diaz and their excitement about it and the way they presented it, but I wanted to say thank you because I can only imagine the huge undertaking that this was for all of you and the commitment to decide to do it this way is just outstanding. I'm really excited. I'm excited for our students, and I'm very thankful for the work that you put into this, so thank you. Are there any questions from anybody? Comments, concerns, anything?
I just also wanted to add thank you to the teachers. When Dr. Diaz brought this to my attention that we were thinking of not doing an adoption, but really wanting to look at aligning our curriculum vertically and horizontally, I knew the type of work that it takes to do that. And so again, I thank you for your leadership and your effort in doing that. And I look forward to great results because I know curriculum is pretty messy, but what you have done is pretty impressive. So thank you.
You really set the bar standard, or the bar high for the rest of your colleagues now. I mean, really, you've got to sit there and, Mr. Oster's got to be thinking, oh boy, we got to do this for every. No, but really, truly, thank you all very much. And thank you, Dr. Diaz. At this time, we are going to go forward, correct? Yes. All right, we are going to skip ahead to 6, our discussion items. We're going to go to 6A, Neola policy. But Dr. Martin, we will circle back to our safety and security item shortly.
Absolutely. So this is the second reading tonight for all the policies with the exception of the first one, which is listed as 5,200 for attendance. That particular policy, just getting my notes. For that particular policy, the only change is the words "or verbal" in the 4th paragraph, and that is to provide clarity on how parents can provide confirmation of their child's absence. This now brings this policy in line with the changes that was made in the next policy coming up, 5230, regarding late arrival. This is the first read, but we are asking the board to adopt this policy tonight as this is the same language that is now reflected in both policies as brought up by a board member in the previous meeting. So we wanted to bring that to the board's attention. The other policy that saw any type of change for the second reading is policy 01441. This is the policy regarding board member compensation. After discussion during the first policy reading, this policy now reflects or brings back the compensation at $30 per meeting, but now has the following language has been added. There was a change from the first reading. Board members can opt to receive payment, decline payment, or receive payment and donate back to the district. So I think a board member had just kind of wanted us to consider the options, and so we placed that back within the policy itself. The rates for the housing and the meals remain as discussed during the first reading. All other policies for tonight, 5230, 6108, 6700, 7440, and 9150 those are all unchanged from the first meeting, or the first reading at the last board meeting. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
I don't think we ever took out the $30. I think we talked about it, and then it was kind of the consensus that we would leave it in. So I don't think it ever made it out of the policy.
The first reading did have it crossed out.
We crossed it out in the first reading. We brought it back for the second reading after discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any additional questions on policy? All right, thank you. On to 6B, we have 2023 Treasury Pre-Qualification Bond Application. Ms. DeVries?
So we went through the pre-qualification application process with the Department of Treasury, and that went well. So this is the next step in the process for the board to vote and approve on this application itself. Then it will be submitted as a final document to the Department of Treasury. And then next month in January will be the vote of the board to go for the bond proposal itself.
Are there any questions from board?
I had a quick question. So I noticed in the attachment it had the bond language. Are we approving the bond language today too, or just the treasury stuff?
That is part of the application process, so
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Tim?
So to that point, we were going to be hiring a firm to help us with that wording of the bond language. Is that going to be on the ballot as we intended to have that looked at?
Yes, so because of how far we were in the process, we did have the firm look at it really quick, make some recommendations. We got a few of those tweaks and adjustments into this bond language that you see, but we couldn't do a full sale change by the time the company came on board. We had already met with the Department of Treasury. So, but some of those changes are now reflected in this language that you see.
Thank you.
Additional questions? All right, we're all set. Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll move on to 6C, Superintendent Contract Update. After our highly effective rating, there was discussion about needing to move forward and look at some changes with Dr. Martin's contract. That information was sent forth through working with various board members, but also through Finance Committee. Would one of you like to speak to where we're at?
Sorry, yes. So we had a, excuse me, we had a contract extension last year that pushed out through to 2027. With this, we agreed upon increases in pay for that period of time from 2023, starting effective in January, excuse me, through the end of June 2027.
Okay, do we have questions for people on this? I know that the timing of it was difficult for some to get through. Go ahead.
I didn't have an opportunity to review this today, so I would respectfully request some additional information, if you could provide that, with some additional details, because at the time that this was sent today, and with it being significantly different from the proposal that we had received 6 weeks ago, I think it would be helpful to have some additional review of that information.
I'll go right down the list.
Thank you.
So for 2022-23, there's a 4% salary increase, and that's effective January 1st through June 30th of 2023. There's a 3% longevity added in starting January 1, 2023 through June 30, 2023. A 0.25% annuity rate increase compensated monthly January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. Scheduled lump sum of an annuity lump is paid on June 30th, 2023. And in 2023-24, there's a 4% salary increase effective July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024. 1.5% monthly annuity increase as compensation, a 1% increase, bringing it to 4% starting July 1, 2023 through 2024. Starting 2024, there's a 4% salary increase effective July 1, 2024 through July 30, 2025. 1.5% monthly annuity compensation and a 5% longevity same time period. 25-26, there's 6% longevity through July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026, 1.5% monthly annual annuity compensation, 2026, 6%, or 2026 through 27. 6% longevity starting July 1st, 2026 through June 30, 2027, and a 1.5% monthly annuity compensation. And everything else remains the same.
So I think part of the thing that was discussed before is, as Dr. Martin's been with us since 2018, he has had one bump to his base salary since he's been here. There's not been any consistency to what his compensation has been, unlike any other group that we, throughout the district that we provided. So there was a discussion from board members about what they would like to see and having some known factors factored in for the next few years to come. Now, this is, I guess, probably to your point, different than what initially you saw 6 weeks ago. And I don't know, Kyle, can you offer anything as far as difference in, or, any clarity?
I would say the only thing I would add to this is again, just my opinion on this, that we're not, Dr. Martin's contract's not tied to the associations by any means. However, having said that, this falls right in line. It's about a 5% raise a year. So when we looked at the associations too, where they settled, it's about 4%, and then they have steps as well, taking it to about 6%. So I felt like that was in line. The other thing is too, structuring it this way helps maximize the same dollars, to make sure that his pension is maximized. So if we're going to spend the money, spend it in the correct way. And I think the other thing that is nice about doing the longevity piece is it's a roadmap. Hopefully Dr. Martin stays for the next 20 years, but I'm assuming at some point he's going to want to retire. Yeah, when you're 70 or so. Whenever that time is, though, it's a nice piece to reward somebody for staying with us. And then when the new superintendent comes in, you can back that piece out. Because obviously somebody with 10 years of experience versus somebody who new, you wouldn't give the same compensation to. So it shows that new superintendent potentially that we're going to take care of you if you stay. But at the same time, you can't comp the same as somebody with that kind of experience. Does that answer the question? That's I'm happy to answer anything else. Otherwise, obviously, there's a lot of conversations at the finance committee. But I think overall, just looking at the package itself, falls right in line with the other staff groups. It falls in line with the other superintendents in the area as well.
Right.
No, go ahead, Julie.
Well, I just wanted to assure you that there's been a lot of conversation within the committee and structuring it correctly. It's something that Kyle does on a daily basis, and to make sure that his pension, because I think in the past apparently how you word things, how it's all broken out, it really does make a huge difference. So that was something that I learned through going through this. And it was vetted out through the finance committee and also with Dr. Martin. So according to what I can see with the similar size districts and demographic, it is a fair compensation package.
And I'll add one thing to that, just to give you an idea why this is so crazy, some of this stuff. When you look at like a retention bonus, for instance, if you use the word retention bonus in a contract, it doesn't count towards a pension. If you say longevity pay, it counts towards a pension. It's that crazy how they look at things for superintendents, that you have to use the exact words. So they might be basically the same thing. It's just how you exactly word it.
Just, I don't know if anyone has a sense, just with the timing of this. Based on what we saw 6 weeks ago and this, is there, where are we at, like, total compensation-wise? These, okay, I didn't have a chance to,
It's about
compare
the
them.
same. The annuity piece is what, so if you're only looking at the raise, you also have to consider the annuity piece, which was not in the original, which is important to Dr. Martin. So, not to speak for you, but from what I gleaned, from having all the discussion. So it did switch, but it was kind of like, we just kind of moved it around. But when I did the math out, it was about the same as the original. It's just, it moved around just so we can maximize for our superintendent.
Additional questions? Katie?
So you did help him compile the first one as well as this one, or?
So when asked upon from different board members, I gave my input, but I will say that a lot of this work was done by Tim and Julie, and that's who I dealt with a lot of, and talked to Dr. Martin once or twice. So kind of off and on, I would say.
Follow-up question. So you feel like the piece being moved from the longevity into the annuity is better? Because I know that that longevity piece was actually a board request as opposed to something, so I feel like it's important that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a great question. So longevity is still there.
I mean, I know longevity is still there, but we basically moved 3% from there into the annuity. And the longevity piece that we had initially, everyone had.
Yeah, I think that was just more, from my understanding, and Julie or Tim maybe can clarify, I think that was more, Dr. Martin felt like that was better for his family to have it in the annuity piece. I will say as a side, although a small number, it's a little bit better for the district in the fact that we don't pay FICA tax on employer contributions to the 403B, so 3% there, we save a little bit of money. But that's my understanding, but
Anybody else? Tim?
Just kind of on that point, I personally would have preferred to see a larger retention bonus at the end rather than having the longevity and the rate be higher. So I think we made some progress with some trade-offs on that. So ultimately, we're one board, you know, there may be differences upon what you guys are thinking and what I'm thinking, but we've landed on something, so see what we're gonna do with it here.
Thank you, Tim, for that. We had a lot of discussion about that, and I think you brought up a piece of maybe having it year by year instead of waiting a 3 to 5 like he's had to do from his initial contract. And so in order to do that, because I think as a board, of course, we want him to stay, and a retention bonus is set up to do just that. But being that he's kind of proven himself over the last 5 years, we thought that we would offer a retention bonus or the longevity. And that was a choice that Dr. Martin was able to make on his own, we had offered it. So, yeah, so it was brought up by a board member, and we thought about it and talked about it, and that's how that came about.
Additional questions, concerns?
Yes, one additional concern. Given that the draft of this came out today, I want to ensure that Dr. Barton has had adequate time to review it out of respect for him, given that there was not a lot of time. So with respect to that, I want to ensure that you've had adequate time.
I did have adequate time to see and review, so I'm comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? No. Thank you to everyone for their input and time into this. All right, at this point in time, we're going to move on to 7, which is board and superintendent reports. We have teaching and learning committee.
The minutes say curriculum and learning committee, but the curriculum and learning committee met on December 6th, 2022 at 7:30 a.m. Dr. Trober shared good things that are happening around the development of chair positions across the grades K through 12. The vision for our chairs is to develop effective practices across the horizontal and vertical spectrum within their grade level and/or content area teams. We are committed to being learning-centered, collaborative, and results-oriented as we delve into curriculum and learning maps, data analysis, and assessment planning. Dr. Diaz shared additional information regarding the high school ELA department's request for resources to support new curriculum at 9th and 10th grades, as well as newly developed courses at 11th and 12th grades. The list of newly requested materials, along with the robust process for evaluating those materials, was shared. Dr. Diaz also walked through the school index ratings for Caledonia High School and the areas which were identified as needing improvement. Although the subgroup of students with IEPs was the trigger for this identification, we recognize that we also have work to do in other areas. We will work as a central team in collaboration with the high school team to develop, monitor, adjust, and ultimately evaluate an improvement plan designed to address all areas of needed growth. Dr. Trober shared an update on our instructional coaching plan due to constraints with budget and certification requirements for open positions. We are continuing to provide instructional coaching support at the elementary level while pulling back at the secondary level. Ms. DeVries and Mr. Kingsbury also shared finance and HR updates. The meeting adjourned at 8:43 a.m. The next meeting will be held on January 10th, 2023.
Right, we are going to, do we have any questions for that committee? I'm sorry. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who have served on this committee for this year, and we will all figure out what we're doing as of January. We will be on to Finance and Operations Committee. Tim?
Thank you. The Finance and Operations Committee was held on Wednesday, December 8, 2022, and was called to order at 7:37 a.m. There were no guests for public comment. The district is seeking bank proposals for the Board of Ed consideration at the January reorganization meeting. The plan is to add a new banking relationship in 2023 with the goal of transitioning to an institution who offers lower fees, a physical Caledonia presence, and an experience with municipalities and schools. The district has started utilizing the organization Indeed job site for posting of some of its key positions that have been hard to fill. Indeed service has increased the number of applicants for these types of positions. The committee briefly discussed potential changes to the superintendent contract. The committee chair indicated that while the committee did not bring these details of the contract changes to the meeting, they were aware of the proposed changes and had no major concerns with the exception of how language increase to salary could be viewed as a conflict of interest if it mirrors the teacher's increases. Committee members indicated that they would be clarifying the proposed changes before Monday's Board of Ed meeting. Mr. Hess provided a brief update of bond projects that are underway and indicated that we're making substantial progress. The committee heard details concerning the look and feel of the connection structure between the high school and the South Campus. The committee learned that Brenda Woodavine, the current transportation director, will be completing her last day with the district on the 16th of December. Ms. Woodavine has served the district well for the past 6 years, and we wish her well. Mr. Kingsbury provided an update with security plans for the district and informed the Board of Ed that he and Mr. Russell will provide a brief public presentation during the board meeting and with detailed information provided in closed session so that essential security plans remain confidential. Mr. Kingsbury also informed the board about the district's plans to improve support to schools that we provide shared time services to. These changes will come through hiring an outside agency who specializes in providing shared time supports on behalf of public school districts. Board orientation was completed this week. The bond team has been engaging with Byram Fisk and have asked them to assist in the bond campaign by creating a target survey in order to determine appropriate talking points and focus areas. The board adjourned at 9:07 a.m. The next meeting is Thursday, January 12, 2023 at 7:30 a.m.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for that committee? All right, thank you. I'm going to move on now to 7C, which is board reports.
I'd like to make a report.
Sure thing.
I wanted to take a moment to thank all of our teachers and our staff and our administrators for the work that they do to provide the setting, the materials, and the actual education for all of our students at Caledonia Community Schools. Not only do I believe that all of our teachers and our staff do their very best every single day to provide the highest quality education to our students, but I've also observed them to do this with treating each student with kindness and dignity and respect. And I'm so very grateful for that. And I just wanted to say that out loud today. Upon reflection, I really do believe that our teachers serve as a wonderful role model for all of us. And I would encourage not only our board of directors, but our community to take that role model for what it is and to treat one another with kindness, dignity, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. All right, any other board reports at this time? All right, at this time, I'm going to make one last call. If you have a comment card to turn in, please with your name on it so we can follow up as appropriate if you are here for a public comment. Otherwise, we're going to move on now to 7D, which is our superintendent report.
Okay, I don't have a lot to add tonight, but one of the things that I shared with board members during the, okay. Is that a little bit better? All right.
Thank you.
One of the things I tried to share with board members during the memo as I was meeting with superintendents across the region, some things that were just kind of striking me as interesting. Last year, the state moved to equalize funding in the 21-22 school year with districts experiencing the range between 171 per pupil to up to 589. Unfortunately, for us, if those who know, we were at the 171 dollar per pupil range, while others were up to 589 per student. When you add that to the ESSER funds, a lot of districts were able to increase their fund balance because of the large per pupil allocation to bring everyone to an equal funding point. And some districts had substantial amount of ESSER funds, which we also didn't have. But when we looked at the fund balance, even though we dipped into our fund balance, we were pretty much in the range with a lot of our counterparts across the county. So we still have some work to do in this area, but it wasn't as alarming as what I thought when I started to see it in context with the other 20 districts across the county. Another thing that was pretty interesting but made me feel a little bit grateful as the superintendent here, the unaudited pupil account numbers, it looked like of the 20 public school districts across the county, only 6 of the districts saw an actual increase in FTE for students. That was us, Kentwood, East Grand Rapids, Kelloggsville, Kent City, and Byron Center. So while we always wanted to see that number larger, I was kind of shocked, if you will, to see that 14 out of 20 actually saw a decrease in students. What we don't know is the number of homeschool or kids that go to private school. They're not required to report that information at a county level or any level, so there's no real good tracking of that information. But at least, we felt pretty good that we actually saw a slight student increase as compared to most of the others. Bond information, we will be having some preliminary discussions with a group of interested citizens as well as key communicators later this week on the 15th. After we come back from the holiday break, probably late January to February, we'll start getting a little bit more active with putting information out in the community, but just wanted to share that with the board as well. We also just have a ton of positive things going on in our school community. When you look at just the interaction with Cal Hockey Youth Night, seeing our high school seniors interacting through hockey with some of the future Fighting Scots coming up. One of our coaches was identified, or our football coach was identified as Coach of the Year. Our robotics team, again, the Cobble Cats, took first place overall and first place in the skills competition at a competition in Grand Ledge. So a lot of good things to be excited about. But I think one of the things that got me the most excited We can all get happy and excited to cheer for sports, but we actually had 17 seniors in the fall, throughout the fall sports, who were identified as academic all-state in their representative sport. So, that is certainly something to be commendable, to be outstanding in your sport, but also to be academically outstanding and to be recognized across the state as an academic all-state honoree. So congratulations to those 17 seniors. I won't list all of those names, but certainly we have a lot to be thankful for in our school community. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Were there any questions for Dr. Martin? At this time, we're going to move forward to our public comment. First up will be Mary Ann, followed by Wendy. Please make sure when you're speaking that you can hear yourself in the microphone, because if you can't hear yourself, we won't be able to hear you either. So. But you get to look at all of us this way.
Right. And I know that you prefaced this with not calling anybody out by name, but I'm here to thank a few people, so I hope that's all right with you, Board President. And you all, my name's Mary Ann Timmer, and I'm a long-time, 30-year resident of Caledonia. My kids went through Caledonia. So I'm here for several reasons. First, to provide ongoing support to the remaining 4 school board members after the recent election. Second, to thank you, the remaining 4 school board members, for your continued excellent service to our community. Third, to thank Julie for her 6 years of dedicated service. Don't mean to call you out, but it was my idea to ask you to run.
It was your idea.
I encouraged Julie to run years ago, and she did. And I know it's been a difficult experience at times, but you've done a fabulous job, so thank you. Fourth, I want to thank Dr. Martin for leading our district through much adversity with a smart, reasonable, and dedicated approach in his decision-making, along with what is best for the Caledonia students and families. So thank you. And I would be remiss, and this is along the lines of what Brittany was talking about, if I didn't recognize and thank our wonderful teachers, administrators, support staff, all who make our school community a destination district. When my kids were raised here, I had relationships with everybody, from the bus driver to the janitor to whomever fixed the lunches to the teachers, because that's what we do here. We establish relationships. And so as a parent, I was never turned away from a relationship. And I want to make that clear tonight, that I've always felt that as a parent, I had a voice. And lastly, and maybe most importantly for me to address this to the board tonight, I really want you to think about, I suggest you consider drafting a code of ethics for the Caledonia School Board, for the trustees, to ensure in the future that school board members do not endorse political candidates by identifying their support as a Caledonia School Board trustee. Partisan politics has no business in decisions within a school district. This code of ethics would prevent the conflict from even occurring. Public education teaches all children, from the really, really smart to the kids that need help, and everybody in between. We teach all children, not just the children and their families who represent the values of the political affiliation or religious belief of a particular school board trustee. That is what a public school does. We educate everybody, we welcome everybody, regardless of their religious background, their ethnic background. That's what we do. And that's what we've always done here, that I'm aware of. And I hope that will continue. So I want to thank you for affording me the opportunity. My 3 minutes are up. Daryl is beeping me. No, I'm teasing. But I really want to thank you all. You know I ran for school board because I wanted to put my name in the hat, and I didn't win, so I congratulate those that did, and my hope is that they realize what big steps they're entering into and the responsibility that we have here to serve all students. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for giving us Julie, too, I will say. Wendy?
Hello, all. I know you're probably nervous seeing me here because last time may have not have been ideal for everyone to hear from me, but tonight it's much more simple. But first, I kind of want to piggyback on what others have mentioned about the teachers. So I have 3 daughters, the youngest being a freshman, and from a parent perspective, I want to say thank you because, excuse me, my 3 daughters all learn very differently, and they sometimes need different options to learn. And just to hear that there's some different options coming their way will be very exciting. I should say her way, there's one left, but but anyway, thank you, because, yeah, and let's just hope they don't hold me to it that she's gonna do really well. But I'm just thinking that at least she'll maybe do a bit better, knowing that there's different options. But secondly, the reason for tonight is quite simple. I just wanted to know when and how you guys decide for the landscaping and plowing contracts. So I know, seems very random, but in the past, the company that had been used and possibly is still currently being used wasn't supportive when the schools were looking to the community for help passing millages and whatnot. And I just want to look into the future to see when that contract may be renewed, and if so, how you decide who gets that. Maybe they just have a killer price and it's hard. It's like, well, but then we got to ask ourselves, you know, who supports us too. So that's it. Pretty simple. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we're going to move on to our action items. 9A, we have 2023 board meeting schedule.
Do we need to go back to 6?
Oh, okay. Well, is that okay? Correct. Correct. Can we hold on the report for just a few? Okay. All right. Sorry. We're going to do our action items first. 9A is 2023 board meeting schedule. I'm sorry.
I move that the board adopt the 2023 regular meeting schedule as proposed.
I have a second.
Second.
I noticed that Kyle didn't want a second because he won't be
too.
sitting there. So I see the grin over here. So second by Brittany. Were there any questions on that? Obviously, if something needed to be changed from that, that would be posted within an appropriate time frame. Obviously, meetings would be added for extra as needed.
We keeping the same committee arrangement?
That would be up to whoever's assigned to those committees if that works out, but I think that 7:30 timeframe, from what I've heard from administrators, would be their ideal choice in their daytime. So if possible, I think that that's the way the administration would like to keep it, if that works with all board members.
Okay.
Is that okay? All right, thank you. Can I have roll call, please?
Asper, yes. Clement?
Yes.
Barbara Garcia?
Yes.
Isich?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Sadu?
Yes.
White?
Yes, motion carries. On to 9B, Neola policy.
So just a point of clarification, I believe it's listed as 5230 on our sheets, and it should be 5200 for that first part. Is that correct? Michelle and or Dr. Martin?
Isn't it both?
So the first one is to adopt a,
One was already included within the packet, and the other one was then a separate one, which is why they were listed. So you've got 5,200 as
so the first one should be 5200 to adopt immediately, right?
It should be 5,200, yes.
Just wanted to make sure I was making the right motion. I move that the board conduct a reading and adopt immediately board policy 5200 as presented.
Any questions on that one? May I please have roll call? Who made a second motion on that, or did nobody? I apologize after the discussion.
No
Second?
one, but it's definitely me after everybody's
Okay.
looking at me.
All right, Brittany's got the second on that one. Now could we have roll call, please? Asper, yes. Clement?
Yes.
Barbara Garcia?
Yes.
Esich?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Sadu?
Yes.
White? Yes, motion carries.
Next one, I move that the board conduct a second reading and adopt immediately the following board policies: 0114.1, 5230, 6108, 6700, 7440.03, and a 9150 as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
By Tim. Any questions on those? A roll call, please. Asper, yes. Clement?
Yes.
Barbara Garcia?
Yes.
Esich?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Sadu?
Yes.
White? Yes, motion carries. On to 9C, 2023 Treasury Pre-Qualification Bond Application.
I move that the board approve the Department of Treasury application for preliminary qualification of the bonds for a May 2023 bond proposal.
I'll second.
Any questions for Mr. Rees or Dr. Martin on that? Can we please have roll call? Asper, yes. Clement?
Yes.
Barbara Garcia?
Yes.
Esich?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Sadu?
Yes.
White? Yes, motion carries, and yes, thank you for that. On to 9D, Superintendent Contract Update.
I move that the board approve the revisions to the superintendent contract as presented.
May I have a
Second.
Second by Kyle. Any further questions on that?
I just have a point of order.
Sure.
When it comes to the final wording, if our attorneys could take a look at this to make sure there's no conflicts.
Yep.
And everything lines up for moving down the road with future contracts if necessary.
Yep, absolutely.
And just one more thing from me. While I thank you for working the weekend to put this together, it feels a little bit like a gun being held to our heads to have to push this through really, really quickly when it's been out there for 6 or 7 weeks. So bringing it this late is unacceptable, and it feels a little like being under the gun to have to vote on this versus the version that we had for 6 or 7 weeks in our hands. So I'm throwing that out there now because I really do want to support Dr. Martin, because I've said it long ago in the interview process, the Michael Jordan of superintendents. I mean, just, you're great, and I want to make sure we take care of you. So I just needed to say that it's not appropriate.
Even though I'm on the finance committee, I 100% agree, so.
I think certainly the timing of it was stressful for everybody, and certainly you don't need the extra stress worked into your regular day either. So, but yes, going forward, I appreciate the time spent getting this done and the accommodations that all of you have made at the last minute in reviewing, asking questions, and getting up to speed on it. So thank everybody for that. Did I have a motion on it? Okay. I'm telling you, talk about getting out of order here. All right, can we have roll call, please? Asper, yes. Clement?
Yes.
Barbara Garcia?
Yes.
Esich?
Okay, just to be clear, I'm voting no, but not because I don't think you deserve everything that you get. I just feel like Tim didn't want to participate in a discussion during the committee meeting last week when we had a chance, and he waited until the final second at the last minute today to get these out. And I don't like feeling like it's a trick or we're being snaked, or if he doesn't want to participate in the discussion, that's fine, but then I would have gone on our original proposal.
Sure, yes. I
I appreciate that, and you definitely have every right to your opinion, but I just wanted to be clear in my part in this, that you were involved in every aspect, and I did include.
You were fantastic. You were trying to be a middleman and compromise, but I also feel like coming in on Thursday night at 6:10 saying a long laundry list of things, and even in the finance committee minutes that he read today, his only issue was wording, and then suddenly there's a bunch of other stuff.
Yes, you may continue. Thank you.
Morris,
Yes.
Sadoo,
Yes.
White.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you again to everyone. And thank you, Dr. Martin.
So I want to thank the board. I know this was a stressful thing, but it is greatly appreciated. So thank you for the hours, the time, the consideration, and the support. If we're to be successful, it's because we're working together. And so I just appreciate the support that the board has shown tonight, and as well as other times in the past. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate it. We look forward to many more years, and we know that change isn't always easy, like moving rooms from one building to another, and we appreciate everybody's flexibility, but we have great work ahead of us and good things to come. So thank you to everybody. All right, so now we are going to divert backwards if we can here on our agenda back to 5B. We're going to go to safety and security with Mr. Kingsbury and Mr. Russell.
Yes, so thank you for being flexible. Mr. Kingsbury and Mr. Russell have a brief presentation before we go into closed session, but we had to be a little flexible because Mr. Russell was pulling double duty and presenting at another school board as well. So we appreciate everybody's flexibility.
No, thank you. Like Dr. Martin said, I will be, sorry about that. I will be brief, but slide, please.
Daryl?
Gotta get closer. Is that what you're
I have to hear you, yes.
All right, can you hear me now?
And that goes for Mr. Russell too. We have to hear your
Okay.
voice loud and clear so that when they do the recording, everybody will be able to hear you.
So I will be quick so that Mr. Russell can get to his point.
Okay, thank you.
Before we start, I just want to thank Deputy Stewart back there, because there's an Amazon delivery driver freaking out somewhere on the road, because if you heard the commotion, that was him walking through with our deputy kind of sneaking out and catching him there. So good job. Good job, Deputy Stewart. So Deputy Stewart actually is our SRO. He spends every day at our high school and our other schools, a great addition to the school. And since we're talking security and safety, we also have 2 retired deputies from Kent County that are armed and work at our secondary school. So we're very fortunate as a district and a community to have outstanding people that can serve us. And another one's here is Mr. Russell with Secure Educational Consultants. He does a lot of great things for our district and schools across the country. So next slide, please. I've shared this with you before. Emergency preparedness basically has 4 pillars. How do we prevent or mitigate things that can take place? How do we prepare or train? What responses do we do during an emergency? And what does recovery like? Or what does recovery look like, I should say? And even the state police always says there are limitations, because no matter how much we plan and train, things happen, new things that we've never even imagined happen. So that's the basically the foundation of how we prepare for emergencies. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, Mr. Russell, Secure Educational Consultants, he's been with us for the last year training our staff, training our bus drivers, and really doing an outstanding job as being that subject matter expert that can come in, tell us what we need to do to get better. And some of the things we do is, as I mentioned, he does the training at the district level. We also have our crisis teams, our MERT teams, or our medical emergency response teams that meet on a regular basis. We do drills. And just this week, we had a team of individuals go to the Michigan State Police behavioral assessment training, because we look back, what's that mitigation, what's that prevention, how do we identify students that could potentially cause some type of a violent act or do a violent act in our school. So that's very critical to that. So next slide. Just some legislation that came out this year. And one of the reasons Mr. Russell is here is that districts had the opportunity to have a security assessment performed in their build or in their district. So Jason and his company, Secure Educational Consultants, performed that assessment for us. And when we go into closed session, he's going to go over some of the highlights of what he found, just so that you know what we're doing and how we're working to improve anything that he suggests that needs to be looked at a little more closely. And some other things, we're still waiting for some funding from the state on some security grants. Hopefully that will come fairly soon. And also one of the things we mentioned earlier, one of our big areas are, what's that connector between North and South Campus going to look like? Because I think that's an exciting point for us, as we want that to be a good cornerstone of protecting our students at that high school campus. So, and with that, I will move it over to Mr. Russell.
All right. I'm excited to talk to Michael Jordan, the superintendents. Can we switch to the next slide? This is it, huh? Oh, okay. Switch to another presentation. Well, real quick, I'll introduce myself. I've met everybody here. My name is Jason Russell. I'm the founder and president of Secure Education Consultants. We work with we've been in business since 2012. Work with schools all around the country on safety and security. We have in Michigan around 300 public school districts, so we have almost half of the public school districts in Michigan, as well as over half of the private schools as well.
Hold on one second. Somebody will come to your rescue with something else that'll work. This is definitely not a hint. It's just a delay. It's not a board meeting without a technology issue. That's just all there is to it. You just can't make this stuff up. I'm telling you, this is the way it goes.
So my background, I was a Secret Service agent. What I was saying is I actually have three of my kids have gone through Caledonia Public Schools. My oldest daughter graduated in 2019, and she's going to be a teacher, so you guys must have done something right. I have a sophomore daughter, and my son is in 6th grade, so it was really important for me to be able to work with the district and make sure that everybody's doing everything they need to do to be safe and secure, and I'm very proud to send my kids to Caledonia. The district leadership is fantastic. One thing that I would point out is anytime that I brought advice or anytime there's been a security question, Dr. Martin, Mr. Kingsbury, and administrators have always been very responsive of asking for help, which sometimes doesn't necessarily happen in all cases. So we have the opportunity based on the grant that Mr. Kingsbury spoke about to do assessments on all the schools. So we actually had 2 assessors work in the district. I did some of the schools myself, and then we had another parent, Jason Bird, who was the head of the Michigan State Police Tactical Team, did the other assessments. So we put pretty good level of experts in the district to make sure that we were given a good product. Really what an assessment is, it's really a granular examination of safety and security. So what we always say is everything that touches safety and security should be assessed. So we're looking at not only the physical security, but also the processes, procedures, how everything works, and trying to get as granular as possible to see if there's any gaps, weaknesses, or opportunities for improvement. So when we're going through an assessment, we're looking at, everything that we can possibly look at. we're spending a lot of time with administrators asking questions. We're observing, kind of how things work, looking at the entries, looking at all the different things you'd look at that could impact your ability to respond to an emergency and just, keep the kids safe. So, and then we're making recommendations, and we're looking at, best practices across the country in terms of safety and security in schools, and hopefully making recommendations that allow any gaps or any weaknesses to just be kind of improved and filled. So some of the areas that we're looking at in assessment, as I said, it's a very in-depth, granular examination. So it's really broken into two pieces. The first is kind of sitting down, speaking with administrators. Actually, when we did the assessments here, it was great to have a lot of different voices in the room, from IT people to facilities to, dean of students. We had so many different people that were involved in really identifying what their concerns were so that we could make sure we address those. And these are some of the areas we look at. So the idea is to try to really look at everything. Schools have done a pretty good job, especially of the physical security. I think where the weaknesses generally lie is in the small details. So at SEC, we get involved with not only the assessment side, but also reviews of incidents. So, just within the past year, I've responded to 4 different school shootings. So, we're constantly looking at ways to improve and hopefully prevent those types of incidents from happening anywhere, but certainly, want to make sure we take care of this district. So, had the opportunity to do some training, which hopefully the staff found beneficial. We came in before the school year and did what we call critical incident training, which is a more wide, it's not just focused strictly on active shooter, but it's a little bit more broad-based training to hopefully prepare them to respond to emergencies. So I think that's my last slide. All right. So excited to talk a little bit more in detail in the closed session about some of the recommendations we made, but I would tell for the sake of the community members and people that are attending, this is my own kids' district. So, this is personal for me, and I was extremely proud of the work that was already being done. So any adjustments and things that need to be changed or gaps that need to be filled in were certainly minor, and there's never an apprehension to do anything. A great SRO program, good relationships with the kids, and staff at all levels were very cooperative and participating in this project. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you being here, and go ahead, Jason.
I just wanted to say thank you for all of the work that you do, and I am going to go run and see my sophomore sing at the high school as best I can. So nothing you said, and don't take it personally.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to bounce again on our agenda. We don't normally do this much bouncing around on things, so yeah, we're going to go to number 10 now, which is board member recognition. And I know for those of you that are being recognized, this is probably a happy night of sorts. For those of us you're leaving behind, I will say that we are certainly disappointed. Certainly, I wouldn't have addressed this at the beginning because, no reason to be sad the whole meeting. So, welcome to the Asper family. We have, Brett and Jenna, and the newest family member will be Drake, and we have Aaron there. So Cammie couldn't be here tonight. She's taking finals, so that's certainly a good excuse to not be here to support her mother. And I noticed you haven't been in attendance at any other meetings, so I'm assuming this is just, just for the fun of it. And Kyle's family was smart enough to stay home. Hopefully there's like a Christmas movie on TV or something else at this point. So. But I want to thank both of you. The challenges that we have faced over the 6 years that you've been on the board are incredible. There's probably a book to be written somewhere in there. We have been living in a time where people seem to really focus in on the negatives. And we've seen a lot of that in our community. I think we've seen it. I think our staff feels it. I think there's certainly those of us that don't do social media that feel it. And I just want to say thank you for sticking it out no matter what somebody's come before you and said, whether you've been, threatened or, called bad names or how you felt going home. And I know it's weighed heavily at time on everybody where we've sat in these positions. So thank you for your commitment to the community, to our teachers, to our kiddos, to try to do what's best for them at all times, even when things have been so difficult. I wish you both the best in all your extra free time that you will have. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, a very Merry Christmas with your family. Thank you. We look forward to your continued involvement, though, as we get into the nitty-gritty of the bond coming forward, and we are definitely going to weigh heavily on your support in getting us there and seeing that Dutton come to be, because I think that that's important to all of us that have sat here. So thank you for operating with dignity and integrity through all of this, and I wish you the best.
I want to, on behalf of the Board of Education and Administration, we have some parting gifts for the two of you. But first, I want to just thank both of you. I'll start with Julie. Just thank you for your calm, sage advice at times, for being a supporter, an encourager, and also a therapist at times when I need it. You will be sorely missed, but I appreciate that regardless of what the challenges were, you tried to keep a positive disposition and tried to keep what was best for the students and the community as a whole. So greatly appreciate it. You will be missed. Thank you. Mr. Clement. Also, thank you. You have always pushed me or challenged me to try to figure out how we could be the absolute best in this district, from academics, finance, as well as athletics. I appreciate your straightforward dialogue and conversation. You didn't mince words. You spoke and said what was on your mind. And I greatly appreciated that, because sometimes, even as superintendent, just hearing a different voice, a straightforward, honest, dependable voice will be sorely missed. I know you will be very sad on Monday nights when Monday Night Football is here. As you encourage me to take a long time during board meetings so that you wouldn't be able to see the game. But I will send you text messages just so that you don't feel lost on the Monday nights. But thank you for your service and your support, and I wish the both of you the very best in the future. So please accept these gifts on our behalf, and I think both of you should like those gifts. We put a lot of thought into it, so
No, there really is a lot of thought put into this. I will tell you, Michelle is really on this. She really is just an extremely thoughtful person, and not only does she keep us together all the time and keep us on task, she's very good at this. So if you need help, she's the one to go to. So thank you. Any comments from anybody else? And thank you to your families. Please thank your family at home, but thank you. This really is a huge commitment for somebody that doesn't have any idea what they're getting into. And it does. It takes away from so much family time, missed events, coming to things late, leaving early, whatever that is. But thank you for giving us your mom and your wife and giving of her to this community to serve in this role. So go ahead, Julie.
Well, I was feeling especially sappy this morning when I was thinking about this moment. And because I'm so frenetic and emotional, I wrote something down so I wouldn't sound crazy. And maybe I still will sound crazy. But I did want to quickly say that a big thank you to my fellow board members, current and past, that I have had the privilege of serving with over the last 6 years. A special thanks to Marcy, our constant, see, now I'm going to get emotional, our constant and steadfast leader who I admire. I still don't know how your heart fits in your body, but someday you'll tell me the secret. I'm grateful for this experience that has changed me for the better. I have learned so much about what it takes to run a public school system, and I feel like I still have a long way to go to truly understand it. Actually, I know I do. Hats off to you, Dr. Martin, for your amazing leadership, direction, and vision for this school district. I heard the word destination district, and those were the words that we used when we brought him on, and you have taken that to heart, and I couldn't appreciate you more. So, thank you to the staff and admin for going the extra mile for the kids in this community. I have been in awe so many times of the sacrifice that you have all made. We're lucky to have you all. Through the ups and the downs and the many decisions made easy and hard, I am at peace that I always made informed decisions from the lens of what is best for all kids in our district. I 100% believe these people up here truly care for the kids, staff, and our community more than people could ever imagine, as was stated by Brittany earlier today. It's a sacrifice of time spent away from family, but so worth it in the end. This community has given me and my family a solid foundation I didn't have growing up. Brett and I looked for the right community that would help us raise our kids to be fine, contributing humans. I'm so glad we chose Cal 21 years ago when we moved into our forever home, where we would give our kids the gift of stability and a sense of belonging to the community around them. This community has filled us with a sense of safety and pride, and our family is better off having been a part of this land of purple and gold. Although my time has come to an end on the BOE, I will continue to be a supporter of kids and of anything that makes this community special, like helping to pass the upcoming bond to build a new Dutton, to give those kids the same opportunities to learn that my kids had at Emmons Lake. Thank you again for having me. I will hold this experience close to my heart. And it's been a challenge and pleasure for sure. I got through it. Thank you, everybody.
Kaya?
I'll just add, my wife and kids would have loved to be here. I kept them home because we have an 18-month-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So if we wanted to accomplish anything at this meeting, they needed to be home and not running around in the crowd. So, but thanks to her, obviously, for letting me do this. I don't have anything formal written down, but I just want to say thanks to everybody involved, from the administration to the rest of the staff. The one thing I will say, just that hopefully encompasses this whole thing, the one of many blessings I got from serving in this role was the fact that I have those 3 little guys at the house. And I will tell you, I'd rather have them be nowhere else than Caledonia, and that's from every single level of the staff. So that was exciting to me, to be honest with you. Seeing the board work together, although there's disagreements at time, overall it functions pretty darn well. The new board members are coming in; it'll be a great addition. And then the staff, just obviously everyone's touched on it, cares so much. We know that from every level. We make decisions like, let's go pass a bond, and you all do it. So thank you for all you did. Thank you to the board members for all the time that's put in. And I will tell you that I'm very excited to have the kids come through the schools and continue to be a part of this community. So thank you all.
Thank you. Right. You may certainly, if you'd like to open them, you're certainly up. Was there anybody else that had anything to say?
Well, you're going to hear kind words from me because I met 2 friends 6 years ago. Seeing you leave is very surreal. It's odd. The community will never know how much time and brain power and discussion, and it's unfathomable that after 6 years, how much you put into it. And it's been a real pleasure serving with you, and thank you for your service to the community.
Good? All right. All right, at this point in time, we are going to go into closed session, and we are not planning on any action after closed session, just so that all of you know. I don't know how long we'll be in there, so I can't tell you that information. In this room, the cameras do stay running, just so that everybody's aware. If you stay in here, you are still on video. So anyway, can I have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Second? Second. All right. We have roll call, please.
Asper, yes. Barbara Garcia?
Yes.
Clement?
Yes.
Esich?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
White?
Yes. Thank you. Have a safe night to everybody who's leaving, and thank you for being here. We're coming out of closed session anyway at 8:15. Last one. I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
You can, we'll let you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. All set.